Pounders, welcome back to the Pound. We got a little bit of an announcement here for you. You may already know about this, but if you don't, you need to know. Our fearless leader, Patty, aka the Sharp Rossi, took down the big one. That's right. He took it down for $25,000. Underdog, no big deal. Check is in the mail. Thank you very much. 25,000 reasons to be listening to this channel on a regular basis. Congratulations to our fearless leader.
Thanks, dude. That was quite the intro there. We're gonna keep it rolling. We're definitely not taking it out right away. We don't want Joey B to get his piece for at least another year. That's the best part. Probably winning in 2023. You know, taxes aren't due for another year, so that's super dope. We're running it back this week, and we're gonna see if we can smash again. I don't know what's cooler, the money or the goat horns. That's now on my dog. So I'm still trying to figure that out.
I'm gonna put my vote on the money, but I don't know.
Okay. That's fair.
I might take the money too.
Intangibles are the goat horns. I just want to make sure.
I don't know what's more impressive, taking down the 25K or doing it with Russell Wilson. I'm not sure. Either way, very, very impressive all around. He let it ride all the way to the big prize.
So real quick, just touching on like Battle Royale stuff. I looked back the last 10 weeks and there was no double stacks. There hasn't been a single lineup that's won first place with a double stack, whether it's a QB and two receivers, a QB, a receiver, and a tight end, etc. With the running back, no double stacks. So there might be a little different correlation from DFS where you typically want to raise your ceiling with those two double stacks. It means it's even harder to hit these, right? Because now you're separating your picks. It's like doing parlays. It's like doing a 5-pick parlay, while also having the best. You don't have to have the nuts, but you have to have pretty close to the nuts. That tournament didn't fill. It had 39,000 lineups. Once I saw around Wednesday that it wasn't going to fill, I just started rifling lineups. Every QB. I also, I had my hot picks like Jamar Chase, the teams that needed to win for playoff seeding, and the teams that had no skin in the game. So why would they pull Russell Wilson? They don't care. They're going to play him the whole game.
Especially with the coaching firing too, and they went in the media, they went and said that he's still going to be the quarterback. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world that they're going to let him go.
Right. And that's exactly what I thought. So I put in a fair amount of research before the week starts. This stuff isn't luck. We've been grinding this out the whole season. Variance, right? If anyone plays poker, variance is a big part of poker. But the longer you play, a profitable player will make money in the end. We smashed Underdog as it is this year. I think all three of us made money, right? Yeah.
Not as much as I did last year, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
Debo Sanders and Cooper Kupp took it down for me last year.
Yeah. No doubt. It was kind of a strange end to the year, but more fortunate things happen when you get good news about Damar Hamlin. So it's crazy how much implications it has on just games in like the betting world, which obviously comes second, but still there, it's still a factor. That being said, I had no lineups that it made or break me. I made a couple lineups to the playoffs, but the majority of my lineups were waste of time. I did 10-man, 12-man, 14-man tournaments. Next year, I'm only doing puppies. I'm only doing best ball manias. I think that's going to be my biggest change for the offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think as an introduction to Underdog for me, I did a lot of the just kind of getting my toes wet and drafting a lot of the smaller leagues, the 12-man leagues, and just trying to figure out how it really works, how the drafting and everything works, how the point systems are going to work. And just it definitely helped me a lot for the tournaments. I made 4 out of my 7 tournaments.
That's dope.
In my first season, which I'm super psyched about. But next year, it's going to be strictly tournaments for me. It's just the way that you play Underdog is vastly different than you would your regular ESPN or Yahoo league. But it's just, I think it's far more exciting because on a week-to-week basis, you have different guys entering your lineup that you don't even have to set. And, just
That's
the way
the
you
best
draft
part.
in
You
these
can
leagues
rifle
too.
lineup after lineup.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm a big fan of the best ball setup. There's one thing I learned for sure this year. It's don't have Baker Mayfield as your QB2 in any of your best ball teams.
Hey, I've seen the best of the best. I was in a big dog tourney with Peter Jennings. Jenkins or Jennings? One of the two. One of the legends of DFS. Goes by CSU Ram 88. He drafted Baker and he had the stack with Robbie Anderson. So he was a believer in that same stack that we were before, I saw him in that draft. We did cash in that. We min cashed. I mean, we had Lamar with Mark Andrews. Like, what an upsetting end of the season after week 5, pretty much.
Yeah,
But
brutal.
we were able to min cash with Bateman going out too. So it is what it is.
I feel you there. I traded for Bateman the week he got hurt. Like the trade was already through, and then he got hurt that weekend, and that was it.
Was that in our league?
No, it was in a different league. It was in a single
Okay.
QB PPR league, but it hurt.
Yeah, I'm interested to, if anyone's made bad trades, or something like that, drop in the comments. I love hearing about people's misery, right? Company loves misery.
Well, the important thing is to learn from these things too. You know what I mean?
Plenty of misery to go around.
Mm-hmm. The thing that it wasn't as bad as it could have been because it was AJ Dillon I traded. I had a surplus at running back, and it's not like he blew up.
Yeah, right. Now your Jameson Williams trade.
Oh my God!
Not Jameson Williams. I'm sorry,
Jamal Williams. Yeah,
what are the chances?
But a big part of that trade. So for the listeners out there, it was Jamal Williams for Hunter Renfrow, and the circumstances of that situation was I had 3 wide receivers hurt that week and couldn't fill my lineup and had to figure something out.
For the bye.
And he was the Swift owner, and I should have went for Judy, but I thought that was like the most realistic guy to ask for was Renfrow. I should have asked for Judy and settled for Renfrow. Maybe I could have squeaked Judy out. But, I dropped Renfrow like 3 weeks later because he ended up on the IR. So.
Jamal just kept scoring touchdowns, man.
Oh, my gosh. He wrote him out as his flex. He was playing Swift and Williams all year. So live and learn.
That's the best. It's the best. It happens, though. It happens. I mean, I didn't win any of my 3 leagues this year. It's not true. One was a tie because of the finals, but I consider that a loss.
Yeah.
I had a lot of injuries in one of my leagues where I actually finished last place. I dealt with injuries on injuries. Javonte Williams in that week 2 or week 3 done. Breece Hall done. Zach Ertz halfway through the season done. Just injuries on injuries compounding. I had nobody left in the running back position to fill. I had to try to dump away receivers, and then the receivers I traded popped off. The ones I kept didn't do anything. It was a last place finish. Just
the biggest killer about that Javonte injury, I feel like, was Melvin Gordon not stepping up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it was taking Williams with my second round pick and not working out. And on that team, I took Mixon first, and I was drafting like 12th in a 12-team league. I took Mixon, and then I took Williams, and then I took Pitts. So let's just say that was the last place team. That was the same team that I traded for Bateman too. So like nothing worked. And Sutton was my number 1 wide receiver. How'd that go? Not so hot.
Yeah.
So that's how you finish last.
It's good to have all your misses on one team. I will say that. I was a non-believer in Pitts. Not a non-believer. I was more a non-believer in the quarterback play in Atlanta with Marcus Mariota. So I avoided Pitts like the plague, like COVID.
I should have, obviously. I mean, I looked at it like this kid, tight end, rookie season, gets 1,000 yards in his rookie season. Yeah. Like that's unheard of. So I'm assuming he's going to get better. And the thing about Mariota is he was good with the tight ends once upon a time. What was it? Walker. What was his first name? You remember his tight end at Tennessee? Either way, he had a good tight end in Tennessee. He had a good connection. There was reasons to
Nicholas
think he
asked,
could make.
what's Underdog for Battle Royale? And we will pull it up for you. It is a 6-person draft, typically around 51,000 to 45,000 entrants, $5. You're starting 1 QB, 2 receivers, a running back, a tight end, and a flex. That flex can be a tight end, running back, or wide receiver. And it's for the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games on Sundays. For this week's playoffs, it's going to be every single game. And first place is around 25 to 20 Gs, and then it drops off from there to 15 or 20, depending on how many entrants they decide that tournament to be. If you haven't already signed up, you can use our code FFB pound. On there, you get matched up to 100% on your deposit, up to $100. So you put 100 in, instantly you get 200, which is cool. Tyler made the mistake of putting in 25 with that code. I was like, dude, you're going to love this best ball thing. And before you know it, he's the deposit king.
Yeah, and it's not just best ball either. It's also pick'ems are really fun on there. You can pick up to 5 players, over-unders essentially. It's a good time.
I haven't done a pick'em since I missed that 5-person parlay by half a yard with Gallup. I have not done a single one.
And they can be quite scarring. I'll tell you, last year in the playoffs, I had a 5 going, and I hit 4 in the 1 o'clock games. And then in the 4 o'clock games, all I needed was Mecole Hardman to get 22 effing yards. 22 yards. The man was on a milk carton for the first 3 quarters. You couldn't find the guy. Then he gets one play, and it's a 21-yard catch, and he goes out of bounds right before he literally ran out of bounds. 1 yard short, dude. 1 yard short, and it would have hit for like 1,800.
He had like 4 yards of room.
Oh my God, I'll never forget it. I'm like, it was it was written. It was unbelievable. He stepped out of bounds. Unbelievable.
It's the best. It's the best.
My biggest hit last year in the
sports
playoffs.
Betting, though. Only in sports betting.
My biggest hit last year in the playoffs was Bills and Chiefs playoff game. The last thing I needed was a Travis Kelce touchdown to win. And obviously that game went into overtime, and Travis Kelce had the game-winning touchdown there to end it. And that was a 10 for 200 hit. So we loved that. But it was just the way that game ended. It was constant stress going all the way. And then overtime, he comes out of nowhere and gets his touchdown.
It's awesome because I remember driving into work during that game because I work nights. And I hit a parlay on that game as well. Nicholas, thank you for the question. What do y'all think about the Vikings? Man, they have in my opinion, I think they have a serious shot this year. We'll see how they do round 1. But I like the Vikings. You have them playing the Giants, which should be a relatively easy win. I mean, Danny Dimes is really
they played a couple weeks ago.
Dude, Danny Dimes and Saquon, though, had an absolute crazy game 2 weeks ago against the Vikings. So can it happen again? Sure. But
Minnesota can't stop anybody.
Favorites. I like their chances.
I just don't trust Minnesota's defense. I mean, the Giants aren't flashy, don't get me wrong, but Minnesota's defense is so bad that I really do think, especially when we're talking about in the playoffs, having a guy like Saquon that you can ride, having a quarterback that can run, who's averaging like over 50 yards a game on the ground. Like I think it's a tough matchup for Minnesota. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, it's a 3-point spread, so it's supposed to be close per Vegas.
I think the Giants could be like one of those dark horse teams, like they were years ago when they played against the Patriots. Kind of as like one of those last wild card seeds to make it in, just barely above 500. But they actually do have a pretty stingy defense, and like you said, Johnny, having a mobile quarterback is huge, especially in the way that the game is played right now, where you're able to just extend plays with your legs and just have that versatility in the backfield where it's not just a static turnaround and hand the ball off to your running back every time. You can mix in a couple of wrinkles with some option plays. So I think the Giants actually could be one of those sneaky teams that could cause a disruption in the top, rankings early on. I
sure.
think Minnesota definitely has to tighten up the pass defense going into this matchup. I think that you have to force Daniel Jones to beat you with his
Mhm.
Yeah.
arm, right? You have to take away
Mhm.
Saquon. You have to take away Daniel Jones' legs. You have to force him to beat you through the air. And
Yeah.
I don't
With
think they
Richie
have. I don't think
James
the
and
Giants.
Bellinger. Make the
Right.
guy throw.
That's
I just
it.
don't think the Giants have the weapons on the outside to really get that done. So,
Yeah.
um,
They have a
Minnesota
tough
could
time
be in
stopping the
for a.
run, Minnesota. So that doesn't work when you have Saquon on the other side. And
That's
Danny
the
Dimes.
thing. Is if
Not
I, if
the
I sorry.
no, like Danny Dimes, he's not like the fastest QB. He's sort
No.
of like a Josh Allen in a way. Now they have some set runs just like they do for Josh Allen.
Mhm.
But when you don't have to really defend the pass as much, I feel like they should be able to put an end to the Giants this week.
I'll say this, Nicholas. Be excited. Your team's in the playoffs. It's always a fun place to be. They
Hell
have
yeah.
the best wide receiver in football. Anything can happen. I mean, I think they have a goodest chance. They definitely have a good chance to beat the Giants. I think it's going to be a tough game, though. I do think the Giants have a formula that they could defeat the Vikings with, but it's tough to go on the road and win in the playoffs. And it's extremely tough to go on the road when you got in the playoffs when you don't have great wide receivers. But the run, they always say what travels well in the playoffs, it's the run game and the defense. Again, Giants have a great defense, but they're pretty good against the pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup, but I wouldn't be surprised if your Vikings hold on, and I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Dimes pulls one out. So not much of a hard answer there.
Now let's bring this into a little battle royale style question. Can KJ Osborne pop off and end up in the winning lineup this week?
That's a good bet.
Because he's not being drafted in any really, let's say under 5% of the drafts from what I've been in. I've done 20 so far.
Yeah, I love KJ Osborne because of his situation. Like, especially when you're going into a playoff matchup where, I mean, think about it. Put yourself in their shoes as far as the Giants go. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to scheme to try to stop Jefferson. They're going to scheme to try to slow down Hawk. And that's where KJ can go crazy. I mean, that's what happened against the Colts in that comeback game. I mean, they were so concerned about Jefferson that he went off. And that can happen in any given game.
And switching to running back, Dalvin, how do you feel? Because Dalvin's been struggling the last 3 weeks significantly to move the ball. Do you think this game's going to go any different? Do you think they have to get him more involved?
I think one of the big things is the change in play calling that happened over this offseason for Minnesota. Cook just hasn't really seen the same volume. I don't necessarily think that it's, a production issue for him. I think it's just a volume issue. In previous years, we've seen him be a 5-6 target a game running back out of the backfield, and that just wasn't there this season. I think it's tough to get targets away too, especially when you have a deep wide receiver room and deep tight end room like Minnesota does with Jefferson, Thielen, Osborne, Irv Smith coming back now, TJ Hawkinson. So there's just a lot of mouths to feed in the passing game. So I think Dalvin Cook is turning into one of those static running backs now where he is just a handoff type of guy. He's not really getting the receptions that he has in recent years. But I do think that a key to victory for Minnesota would be to get him going very early on and just establish a strong running game to open up the play action for him.
I agree. I just don't know. So I'm not really a believer in Dalvin Cook's upside in this game. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. I think they're going to rely on the pass like they have been, like you said, all year. Just the change with the OC over there. And they've been leaning on Kirk Cousins a lot more this year and the pass catchers. So Dalvin's not someone that I'm really drafting too much in Battle Royale this week. Oh God, we got Jay in the chat. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later, and here it is. J5704, Johnny Parlay. What are your first directives as president of the Zach Wilson fan club? After a 22-point week, Zach Wilson put up 6 points for the win for Johnny.
My first directive as the president would be change your last name I'm a huge Fish fan, and I no longer want you with a Fish reference as your last name. You're making us all look bad. Please, please change your name. Thank you very much. President out.
Jay was worried. I was getting text messages from Jay saying, "Hey, did he run away to Canada? Like, have you heard from him? Is he in the woods?" Like, yeah, I think he is. I can't find him.
Yeah, I was like,
it's a tough beat when you come in first at the regular season. You get the bye, and then you get knocked out by a team that never won most points of the week. Sorry, Jay.
It's brutal. I pretty much ended up like Tom Hanks in Castaway in the middle of the woods yelling, Wilson! Bloody hand and all. It was a effing mess. What can I say? Came out of the woods, dropped 20 pounds, you know.
Nicholas, that's awesome. I love playoff football.
Yeah, enjoy, man. Have a great time.
It'll be a good game to watch.
Nothing like playoff football.
Let's crush these predictions real quick since we already have it up. Let's go with Seattle versus San Fran. You have San Fran right now 9.5-point favorites in a 43-point game. So they're expecting it to be 33-23, right? Or 34-24, like some close like that. 34-24. That is way too many points.
A lot of points there.
Yeah, that's 43-point total. And San Fran is 9.5-point favorites. So they're supposed to score the majority of the points in this game. Is there any love for Geno Smith and his two pass catchers?
Not in this game, not for me. I mean, for me, I'm gonna put it on the board right now. San Francisco is my pick to win it all. I'm saying it. I'm saying it now. With Brock Purdy, the Cinderella story of 2022, but that's not why. The reason why is that defense and just ridiculous weapons at Purdy's disposal. And they're my team. So, no, I don't think Seattle will win that game. I like San Francisco to go very deep.
Tyler?
Yeah, I'm with you here on this one. I'm thinking San Francisco in this game. I'm also liking the under in this game as well. I just don't see a whole lot of offense happening from Seattle in this game on the road in San Francisco. It's a division opponent. They've met twice already this year. And, you give San Francisco's defense multiple games, multiple looks at how you're playing. It's a lot easier for them to come at you and know how to stop you, know the game plan. So I think Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, those guys are going to be a little bit too much for Seattle's defense to handle. I like the under, but I do like San Francisco to win this game.
I agree. I still think that there is a chance, right? There is a chance. San Fran gives up a decent amount of yards to wide receivers. So I think Lockett or Metcalf can blow up. Now, can both of them blow up? I'm not sure there's going to be room for that. I fully expect San Fran to control the ball for a good majority of this game, maybe 65%. And they got Mitchell back. They have a beast of a run crew. All the playmakers in the world. Purdy can extend plays. He's been able to extend drives. It's been impressive. I agree. I think they can go far. Can they beat Philly if it comes down to it, though? That'll be an extremely tough matchup for them. Someone that did shore up the run game, bringing in Ndamukong Suh and one more defensive lineman for that reason to stop the run.
Yeah, and obviously that's looking further down the road in that Philly and San Francisco matchup. But you have to monitor Jalen Hurts' health moving forward. He was questionable going into this Week 18 matchup. He did play, didn't play his best game. But Philly is just an entirely different offense or an entirely different team when Jalen Hurts is on the field. You just got to hope that he stays healthy for the rest of the postseason. I think that could be an interesting matchup, Philly and San Francisco. I do think Philly's offense, when they're fully healthy like this, they're too fast. They fly all over the field. You have the escapability of Jalen Hurts to get outside. I like Philly to run the table in the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl again. But San Francisco, I think San Francisco is the lone team that can beat Philly.
Yeah. This Dallas game in Tampa, do you expect anything fishy to happen with Tampa Bay sneaking in one more round? I mean,
I do. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think Dallas is full of holes. And I think this is going to be McCarthy's last game there when Tom Terrific takes him right on out. So I'm putting that one down and put it on the board, baby. McCarthy out in Dallas.
Tampa Bay 2.5-point underdogs. Obviously, it's in Tampa Bay, might have a slight effect. It's never fun playing in Dallas. First off, you can't punt; you hit the big screen. Tom's on the field. He can win any game, right? And they already beat Dallas early in the season. The defense had a big thing to do with that, though. So we'll see what team comes out. Is it going to be Super Bowl Tom, or is it going to be Peyton Manning on the couch eating potato chips Tom?
I'll say this, though. Riddle me this. Who blows more playoff games than the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, these guys make a lifetime out of blowing it in the first round.
Green
So I
Bay.
know Tony Romo's in the booth now, and he's not messing up. Excuse me. He's not messing up field goal kicks anymore. However, yeah, I like Brady's chances in this one. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if Dallas wins. I'm just saying this is not a team that's unbeatable.
I think it's a good matchup for them. I don't think really like San Fran would be a good matchup for Tampa, but Dallas, I think they can also get past this round as well. It's only 2.5 points, but they're at home too.
The thing I love about San Francisco is not only is their run game unbelievable with their 1-2 punch, actually 1-2-3 punch if you want to throw Debo in there, but their defense, Nick Bosa is a game destroyer. And if you got a guy like that in the playoffs, I mean, he can alter the entire course of the game. And I think that's what's going to happen game after game if he stays on the field this playoff run. I think this is the Nick Bosa coming out party, baby.
I believe it. I mean, man, San Fran, I really like him as a sneak. They're not even a dark horse at this point.
No, they're not.
A dark horse.
They're the 2 seed, so they can't be. But I do think they're getting slept on a little bit because they're down to their third quarterback. But those weapons, I mean, the weapons in the defense are just astounding, So we'll see what happens. But I certainly like their chances.
Yeah, definitely to your point.
Side. Nicholas says, I think Tampa Bay or Tom Brady's winning. I mean, same thing at this point, right?
Same thing, baby.
If you guys haven't already, drop a like on the live stream. And if you're enjoying the content, drop the sub. We appreciate that.
Tyler, what are you going to say, dude?
I was just going to say, to your point, Johnny, being a third-string quarterback, it's not like he really has anything to lose, right? It's not like Purdy's going out there with the expectation to win the Super Bowl or with the expectation to throw 400 yards in a given game. But he's just going to go out there. He's going to play fun. He's going to play fast. He's just got to be a game manager, right? That's all you have to do when you have the weapons that San Francisco does. You just have to be a game manager.
Absolutely.
And I watched a lot of college football, and Brock Purdy, when he was over at Iowa State, he was a baller. The guy made big plays when it counted. He's been doing it for the last couple of weeks here for San Francisco. So I definitely see them being a real threat in the NFC. For me, like I said, is Philly and San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's going to come down to. I'm not really much of a believer in Dallas or Tampa Bay. I think Minnesota could make a run at something, but for me, it just comes down to Philly and San Francisco.
Yeah, for sure. Battle Royale, Dallas, Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay not really interested in any of their running backs, right? Wide receivers, you're pretty much locked into Metcalf, my God, Mike Evans and Godwin. Gage is like, he'll be way under 1% owned. A good way to sneak in.
I'll tell you who else might be a sneaky
Gage or bring back with Gage in like a stack with Dallas.
Oh yeah,
got to monitor Gage's health going into this week too. He did get banged up in that last week game. Looked like a back injury of some sort. So you got to monitor the health going into this week.
Good call.
A sneaky pick for Dallas would be T.Y. Marriott, a.k.a. Hilton, baby. I doubt he's going to be heavily owned, and he's kind of found his way into a wide receiver 2 situation over there. So there's a chance. I mean, he obviously already had a huge play, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a pretty solid game because they seem to trust him as a veteran, and I don't think he'll be very heavily owned.
He will not be very heavily owned, that's for sure. I mean, Gallup would be probably the one off. T.Y. Hilton starting to see an increase every single week in snaps, all the way from 16% to 40% last week, eating into Noah Brown's. So Noah Brown does lose his high ceiling as you lose snaps. You have less of a chance to break off a big play. Gallup, not really affected. He's sitting around 90%, so he is going to be out there more. But like Johnny said, if you're trying to pick the diamond out of the rough, it only takes a 2-touchdown game really from someone that no one's being drafted to spike the big one.
Absolutely.
I think one of the pass catchers I like the most in that Dallas and Tampa Bay game is tight end Schultz for Dallas, Dalton Schultz. Just the way that Tampa Bay's played against tight ends, right around 15 points per game allowed to tight ends. So I think at a tight ends go over in the NFC, I think he's probably my favorite tight end going into this matchup. Obviously, Kelsey on the bye over in the AFC as well. So he's probably one of them. I think he could finish as tight end 1, maybe tight end 2 in this first week of playoff matchups.
For sure. Dalton Schultz has a high ceiling. We saw it a couple weeks ago when he scored 2 touchdowns. He has the ceiling to break a big one in a playoff lineup. You do have some stud tight ends this week. So it could be Hawkinson, it could be Kittle, could be Knox. Knox has 2 touchdown potential. Gerald Everett, and Evan Ingram, we already saw his ceiling, friggin' 45 points, regular scoring basically. So I do like Schultz. And when we get to the Battle Royale drafts later in maybe 10 minutes, we'll see Schultz is actually really far down there. It's easy to stack him. You don't have to spend a high pick. Let's move on to Buffalo, Miami. I mean, is Tua going to play?
You got to keep your fingers crossed and hope that he does, because the pass catchers over in Miami are some of the best in the NFL. Obviously, Waddle and Hill, if they can get going, this is not a game that Buffalo can just walk into easily and win. If we've seen the struggles of the Miami offense when Tua hasn't been in it, they're just an entirely different team. So if Tua plays, I definitely think they could give Buffalo a run for the money. I don't think they're going to win this game, but if Tua plays, they can make it pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's tough with Tua not playing the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and the Buffalo defense is pretty solid, obviously. So I think Miami can give them a run. I have a hard time seeing them win that game, even if Tua plays. But stranger things have happened. I mean, when you have Tyreek Hill and you have Waddle out there, pretty much anything can happen. You're never really out of the game. But then you look to the other sideline and you got Diggs and you got whoever else feels like showing up as a wide receiver that day. So
True. It's been Knox as of late.
I know.
Second best target.
It's a tough team to stop. I mean, we saw it last week against the Patriots, but I'll say this about that game. It took 2 special teams touchdowns to really put that game away, but you can see just how good they are. I mean, as soon as you let your guard down for a second, they pop off for a 45-yard touchdown, and they do it seemingly easily. So against a good defense, obviously. So it's they're going to be a tough out.
What I think is interesting about Buffalo and Josh Allen is he can pop into the winning lineup without elevating a single other pass catcher around him, because he spreads the ball so much that he can have 5 guys with 11 points.
Sure.
And not elevate a single player around him into the playoff lineup for Battle Royale. It's sort of like having a Justin Fields. Like, you don't need to stack a Justin Fields. Now, for this game, it's almost impossible to get Diggs. It'll probably happen 1 in 100 drafts, and you'll see just based off the rankings. But Knox,
I like the Allen Knox stack. That's a good stack, Allen and Knox. Yeah, you could definitely work that out.
And a little more ugly of a game we'll see is, what's the word on Lamar today? Baltimore versus Cincinnati. This is heavily going to depend on if Lamar plays or not. They rested Dobbins. They rested Mark Andrews last week, and they gave Cincinnati a little run for their money. They didn't make it easy on them, that's for sure.
Did you guys see the story where Harbaugh called Lamar Jackson lazy?
Come
I
on.
didn't see that.
Yeah, apparently
Come
call him lazy like at practice or something. I probably shouldn't be throwing a story out there if I don't know it better, but it was something along those lines and Lamar is very upset about it, obviously.
He's trying to bring down the price.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's
call him
the
lazy.
whole
That's
reason
10
behind
mil
it.
right there. That's 10 mil. Knock it off. Knock it off.
I hope
but
he
this
plays
is a game where
Baltimore.
Cincy's 6.5-point favorites at home.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and since he's been hot lately, obviously that last week didn't play great. I mean, they had the long kind of, I don't know if you would call it a rest week, but they had the long lapse between games because the last game was the Buffalo game. But last week it was kind of a hangover game for them. They didn't look like they really had their offense underneath them. But prior going into that Buffalo matchup, they were getting really hot. Burrow was connecting with Chase again. Chase is back looking really, really just explosive and
Yeah,
as a
baby.
top receiver in the league. So he's one of those guys that you have to watch out for in this Baltimore matchup where Baltimore has a poor secondary. They've given up a lot of points to wide receivers. So Cincinnati
Yeah,
pass catchers
baby.
are definitely like poised for another big pop off week. I think, especially if you look at Boyd too, one of those guys that's probably going to be low ownership in a lot of these leagues because
Mhm.
he is the third option on the team.
Mhm.
But I think he
sure.
could definitely pop into the end zone the way that the Ravens have been poor against the pass this year.
Mhm.
I give Joe Burrow a playoff game. We saw him last year pop off in the playoffs. Looked like a stud. So
He just
I'm
gives
liking Cincinnati in this game.
he only gives stud answers in press conferences. It just
Oh,
gives you a reassurance when you hear him talk like, all right, he's good for 3 touchdowns this week.
There's a reason why they call him Swaggy Joe. He's going to be popping off more than Ron Jeremy this weekend. That's what I got to say about that. And that is a 1990s, circa 80s porn reference for you guys counting out there. So, bottom line is, I love me some Swaggy Joe this week and beyond. This is going to be an unbelievable matchup for the Bengals. I think they're going to put up some major points in this one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to block your face there, Johnny. This came up big. Bryce, welcome back to the live stream. Says like and subscribe and keep pounding. Pounders.
Thank
Love
you,
to hear
Bryce.
it.
We appreciate your support, my man.
Love
Keep
it.
Hell
pounding.
yeah. Hell yeah.
You keep
Los
pounding. I'll
Angeles
keep the porn
Chargers.
references coming.
Yeah, you have to. We need at least 3 more, maybe some Hugh Heffies. We'll see. Chargers versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville gets a home game. I love it. I love it. And this is actually going to be the closest game on the slate. It is set at 1 point right now. I saw 1.5 yesterday. Jacksonville is the underdog by 1 point, I suppose. In a 47.5-point total too. So a lot of scoring. It's supposed to be pretty even, 23-24 type game.
Yeah, Jacksonville's been hot. Winners of 5 straight games, sorry. Coming into this matchup against the Chargers, I do think the Chargers, for me, are a dark horse team out of the AFC, though. They're one of these sneaky teams that are back. I wouldn't say they're fully healthy, but this is the healthiest they've been since week 1. They got Bosa back into the lineup. They have Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert firing again on all cylinders. Mike Williams is back playing healthy. Eckler's
Just got
still
hurt
kind of
last week,
churning
though.
out yards.
He just got banged up last week. I mean, it's typical. He gets banged
Mike
up every
Williams?
game. Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe he's practicing, though.
playing him in a meaningless game and he gets hurt.
Right.
Of course.
I didn't like that, but
Yeah.
this is the healthiest that they've been since week 1. So I think the way that the Chargers have played over the past few weeks, they're one of the dark horse teams that I think could actually make a run at going to the Super Bowl in the AFC. Not to knock Jacksonville. They've been really good over the last 5-6 games here, but
Yeah.
I just think Chargers offense is going to be a little bit too much for this Jacksonville defense to handle. They haven't really seen a strong offensive team in the last 4 weeks. The last one they saw was Dallas, and they allowed 34 points and it went into an overtime game.
And the Jags were just kind of bailed out last game by their defense. They couldn't get anything going on offense. In the Chargers, they do have the talent. There's no doubt they have the talent to win a Super Bowl. It's a matter of, can they put it all together 3-4 games in a row to do what it takes? That's going to be the biggest question.
And the other Bosa is healthy now. So that is a big deal. That's a big deal. The one thing I'd be worried about with the Chargers, and the thing is, like, they've played a lot better recently. Their defense, obviously, the past 2 weeks, they've been pretty solid. But they have the 28th ranked rush defense against the run this year, and they're going to be going up against ETN this week. I do think that the Jags could pound the ball against them. So it really depends on the game plan. And it's funny, obviously, you'd want to lean on your stud, Lawrence, but in this case, I think they win the game if they try to keep the ball away from the Chargers and run the ball. We'll see if they go that route.
Yeah, I agree. Let's jump into a battle royale draft. What do you guys think about it?
Love it.
Let's we can just kind of talk about the picks and kind of formulate the squad. So here it is. This week it's a max of 45,000 entrants. You have to believe that's because last week's didn't fill. They had it set to 51,000 entrants and only 39,000 joined. This will have no problem. People don't like week 18. They don't like doing, all the. It sucks. It does. The
Not a lot of
research of
people
who's
are
playing, who has playoff implications, who has
That
to play.
gives you a little bit of an edge that week. You know what I mean? Because you're
Predicting who will play. Exactly. So, yeah, I did put in. I probably put in 8 to 10 hours of research just on that last week. So
I think you paid out. If you put down a per minute, I think you did pretty good on the per minute scale.
Yeah, on the per minute scale, it was okay. Is that good? We'll zoom in for the horns right there. This whole time, dude, I thought this was the Google sign. Until I realized that you had to win a battle royale to unlock the horns.
Why the
dude, I
horns?
thought that was Google. I had no idea.
What's the significance of the horns? Is it the battle royale?
You have to win a battle royale.
Okay.
So there should only be about, I don't know, 50 of them out there.
Nice. That is upper echelon. That's the kind of advice you get when you tune in to the Pound. You get horns.
Pretty wild. That's what I'm saying, man. The horns. So first pick, I find it tough just based on doing a couple of these. If we go Josh Allen here, we won't be able to get Diggs. Our next pick is going to be at 12 and 13. So if we do want Josh Allen, we won't be able to stack him. If we go Justin Jefferson, you could obviously get Kirk later. Christian McCaffrey, always in play for one. What do you guys want to do?
First pick. I do like the Jefferson and Cousins stack this week against the Giants. Like I said a little bit before, the way that the Vikings have been playing has just been force the ball down the field and get it to Justin Jefferson. So they have to do that in order to win this game. I do like the
Johnny. We'll start with a JJ, the Jettas.
I'll sign off on the Jefferson pick for sure.
You can't lose money, right? Going Justin Jefferson? No, you can't. Disclaimer.
You absolutely can't. Have you found, since it's a 0.5, it's important to remember, everyone listening, that Underdog Fantasy is a 0.5 PPR. It's not a full PPR. So does that change your strategy at all when it comes to these top picks?
100%. You need people that can get into the end zone. You're not as much looking for the players like oxymoron because he had a good week last week, Hunter Renfrow. You want the people that can get in the end zone. So Justin Jefferson, obviously CMC, great options. And then late, like tight ends that can get in the end zone is also huge when it's a half-point PPR. So Diggs and Burrow go at the 6-7 turn. You have Eckler falling to 5, Jamar at 4.
I love ATN this week if he comes around again, but it's up. Obviously, it's up for debate.
Yeah, big fan of ETN this week. After having a couple cold weeks, I think he actually has a 15-point plus week.
If you think about game script, like how did the Jags win that game? I think that leaning on ETN would help them, but we'll see how it goes.
I agree.
Just because of the matchup,
Keenan Allen falls. I love Keenan Allen this week. Can't get enough of him. Sort of type player. I mean, just targets alone. Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of how they've been winning games lately. Has just been forced the ball to a healthy now Keenan Allen.
So we get a little correlation here when we go Keenan Allen and ETN. You like that?
Yeah.
All right. So we got some correlation in the
Hill's
Chargers
sticking around.
Jacksonville game.
Oh, ETN's gone, huh?
We just selected him.
Oh, we got him. All right. Okay. Good pick.
Yes,
Good pick.
Yes, sir. Tyreek Hill at 15 could be the best value of the
Yeah, I
draft.
know. I was staring at the Tyreek thing,
It's a
thinking,
good
playing.
value, but you have to keep you obviously still have to keep your fingers crossed that Tua is playing. And Hill
Sure.
did get banged up a little bit last week, so he was dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury. So if you're a speed wide receiver, you rely on just beating people down the field.
Yeah.
An ankle injury is going to slow you down. And we saw it on one of those plays out of the backfield where a linebacker was just blanketing him on an end zone throw. So I think, the reason he fell there is probably a lot of people looking into that ankle injury and Tua possibly not playing this game.
Gotta hate that when T. Higgins falls one short of your Joe Burrow lineup. Joe Burrow, not the guy that's going to get there right on his legs. So you want one of his pass catchers. It's for me, it's tough to go him at 7 if you don't get Jamar. And I have a couple lineups with Jamar and Burrow at this 6-7 stack. It's not super rare. Christian Kirk's off the board. So you want to kind of see what are other teams doing? Are they correlating their lineups? And right now, we only have 2 QBs off. But if this team doesn't get the knocks, Gabe Davis is another player, right? That any given week he can put up 2 touchdowns, long touchdowns.
Yeah. And especially against this Miami defense that's been super suspect against the pass so far this year.
Yeah.
Playoff game.
We going Hawk? We going Herbert? Since we have
3 Vikings pass catchers or 2 Vikings pass catchers with Hawk and Jefferson.
Do we? If we don't take Herbert, who are we looking for quarterback?
Probably Kirk Cousins.
Do you like that? Oh, I like that.
Let's do a little, because we have we're not going to get a giant in here, I don't think, unless we want a Richie James, which is possible. We'll see who comes back around.
Is there something you want to omit? If something you
One
want
sec.
to add? This is
I like this. I like the triple stack.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, and Hawkinson triple stack there.
Yeah, I'm into that.
I call it a double. I don't know if that's wrong, because 2 pass catchers, double stack. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I've been saying it wrong this whole time. I always thought that was a double when you had 2 pass catchers. It's all right. Regardless,
I've thought that I've heard that 2's a combo, 3 is a stack, but it's all fantasy semantics at this point.
The wifey's connecting to the TV in the basement, which is hysterical. Her Pilates workout, her bar workout, whatever she's doing for pregnant ladies.
Oh yeah.
I think the biggest steal down here is DK, but you have some of these players that can pop in, right? So we have to go a flex. Anyone that sticks out did not play Tuesday. Not the best news.
No, that's a tough one.
It's good news for Keenan Allen.
Yeah, Richie James. He did get rested. That stud.
Slayton wouldn't be bad. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, for me, I think it's DK.
Bringbacks here.
Oh yeah,
I know it's a random pick.
With DK still on the board, we got to go DK.
This guy's got 3 receivers. He can't go DK. I just think he has the highest ceiling.
Let's go DK, 100%.
So he does have the highest ceiling.
I know it's a one-off pick.
No, but to take him at this point, I think it's a no-brainer.
Even if we just look at where DK's ranked on DraftKings, I know the scoring's a little different. DK's high up there. He's priced at 6,400. There's no way he should be going last or sometimes not drafted in these. We just got him with the last pick in the draft.
Yeah, that's highly questionable. We'll take it. Yeah, I like that lineup that we just rattled off there.
Yeah, I would love to
Another
get.
$20,000
I would love to have
lineup.
it be like a Justin Jefferson and Saquon. So like maybe around pick 5 if Justin Jefferson falls, or pick 4 Justin Jefferson falls, and then Saquon falls a little bit. You can get the 2. It's rare. It's like 1 in 10 maybe, but I have a couple with that as well, and that feels like a great start because who would you want
What about a potential
other than
Austin?
Saquon and Danny Dimes in that
What
game?
about a potential Eckler with a Christian Kirk bring back in that game?
Yeah, I like that.
Depending on where Kirk's going, depending on where, if Eckler falls outside of the top 5, he's just been a monster production guy, right? He's a PPR. He doesn't get the rushing yards like most running backs do, but he's a touchdown machine. He's a PPR machine. I know it's half point PPR, but you're getting 9 catches, so those still add up.
Oh, it definitely is still a factor. It's just you have to weigh it, against the full PPR point thing.
Here's my exact example: JJ falling to 4. This guy will have the chance. I don't think he's going to. I think we're going to end up selecting Saquon here, or Chase goes. If he didn't, we probably could have went Burrow Chase. My opinion, I think Diggs has the chance to finish as wide receiver 1 this week, and Saquon has the chance to finish as RB1 this week.
Absolutely. I think they're going to Allen will lean on Diggs big this week. They like to make statements in these games. You know what I mean? Whenever it's like a big primetime game or a playoff game, I see Diggs going off big, especially with Hill on the other side. A little bit of competition there.
Yeah. Against Miami, it's not the strongest backfield. Saquon, Kittle. If we wanted to make it a Dallas lineup, we could go Lamb.
No inclination to go Swaggy Joe.
I think you gotta go Saquon.
Not here, unless I get Chase. I know you can go Burrow and Higgins, but let's see where we would pick. Our next pick's at 15, and Higgins goes at 16. So it's a gamble. Like if you're not getting Higgins or Chase, you can go Tyler Boyd.
Diggs Barkley is pretty solid.
Yeah, so there's ways that we can now we can do a Geno Smith lineup. We saw how late his receivers go. Lockett and Metcalf, you can just do one. You could do both. It could be a Trevor Lawrence lineup. I guess you could go Danny Dimes as well.
I like Danny Dimes. I like Danny Dimes. The thing about Danny Dimes is he can run a few in for you,
Right. He has a high ceiling because of his
very high ceiling.
Because of his rushing potential.
100%.
Right. So let's kind of see who falls. We'll try to correlate it. It is tough to correlate with this start. Not impossible, though. Could go ultra risky. Do like a Waddle Tua.
I don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you do these, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable. Yeah. You have to be able to reach down
it's the
here.
only way to make you stand up. But your winning lineup didn't really have any reaches. It just had some
reaches,
solid.
Bro. Reach after we had Russ and Russell
I guess
Wilson.
so, but I don't know. I wasn't as down on Russ because I played him the week before in the third place game, and he had 24 points for me against Kansas City. So I already had a good taste in my mouth when it came to Russ, and that came out weird.
How good was it, John? Show it. How good was it?
Talking Ron Jeremy and talking taste in the mouth. Things are getting real X-rated here on the pound.
Could do the Hawkinson bring back for Saquon potentially.
Yep, I like your thoughts on that. Another one could be
Godwin, Brady,
Mark Andrews, and T. Higgins.
Yeah,
we just went Hawkinson last. Let's do a little T. Higgins and Mark Andrews. Little
especially
correlation
if Lamar Jackson plays too. Mark Andrews becomes an immediate, tight end 1.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Lamar says strong chance to play. It looks like it's leaning that way. Obviously, if he was declared, yes, he's playing, he would be going before Trevor Lawrence, right?
Right.
So he'd probably be going in this range right now, in this 20-ish range with Mark Andrews. So it's a little risk, and I'm okay with taking risks because that's what it takes to win one of these. It's extremely unlikely. So you have to sort of do what other people aren't. Look how low Dak is. Skyler. Now, I don't know if I'm ready to go Skyler Thompson. I will
Skyler.
say that. Is it in the realm of possibilities? It's
I'd go
football.
Danny Dimes, though. Well, it's kind of tough if you have Saquon in there, but I do think they're both going to go off.
I agree. Typically with the running backs, you don't want the quarterback, right? But it's
Absolutely.
that like 1 in 10. If you're
Mhm.
stacking that QB with a receiver, 1 in 10, you'll stack them with the running back too, or
Mhm.
instead.
What you'd be hoping for in that situation is him dumping a touchdown off to him,
Yeah.
running
Right.
one in on his own.
Exactly. You're banking on 4 touchdowns between the two of them.
Mhm.
Saquon getting 2, Danny Dimes getting 2.
Hopefully, one of those Barkley touchdowns being from a reception.
Exactly. And then one of the Danny Dimes touchdowns being a rushing titty, which, I mean,
It's
these-
very likely that he runs one in this week against Minnesota.
Do you like the Daniel Jones over the Lamar Jackson play in this matchup, especially with Andrews as a Lamar Jackson stack?
I
Well-
kind of like Lamar here. I will.
Yeah, I like
won't
Lamar.
lie.
I like Lamar in this situation.
With the stack for Mark Andrews as well.
Yeah.
Right. Not the highest on Kenneth Walker this week. I think they do have to lean on him for time of possession.
San Francisco's
reasoning.
just tough to run on. Very tough to run on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm low on Walker this week.
And I love me some Walker, but this is going to be a tough one for him.
These are my favorite 2 picks at the end of the draft right now. If we didn't go Mark Andrews and say we had Burrow, I think a sneaky pick is J.K. Dobbins when Gus Edwards has a concussion.
Yeah.
We need another running back, right?
Or receiver or tight end. Right now, we're locked into Lockett. 3, 2, 1. All right, Lockett's going to be our one-off. If Waddle was there, we would have went Waddle for the Buffalo correlation. But this is fine. It has enough
Would
correlation.
you be opposed to do it? So in this instance with this lineup, you already have Diggs. Would you be opposed to putting in Gabe Davis as well in the off chance both of those guys catch a touchdown?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it because I don't have Josh Allen. If they
Mhm.
both are going to catch touchdowns, you're kind of banking on the Josh Allen lineup boning it, right? So
Gotcha.
I think there is just such a smaller potential of you ending up in the top 10 when you do that. Now, there's a chance that Tyler Lockett gets 18 points and Geno Smith ends up with 12. You know what I mean? Or even more. He can go off for 20 plus points and Geno Smith can end up with 12 to 14. I think that's more likely to happen.
Right.
Let's do one more. One more for the people.
For the people.
One more for the people. I like Purdy this week. It's just been tough. People have been reaching on Purdy, and he's all the way down here. It's only the drafts that I'm in.
Maybe we could hope for that.
Purdy's interesting, right? Because you can play him a few ways. You can play him with CMC. You can play him with Kittle and Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
Debo being back complicates things, I think, for CMC and for Ayuk.
A little bit. I think especially too with Elijah Mitchell coming back into the fold things. There's a lot of mouths to feed in San Francisco now too. Like, who is going to be the one stud of the week over there? You don't really know. You never really know because they're all capable of popping off and scoring 20 plus points in any given week.
I agree.
So
There's
can Purdy end up as the number one lineup without any of his receivers or running backs be elevated? You know, if he spreads the ball, Debo, Ayuk, CMC, Kittle, no one gets above 10, 11 points, but they're all productive.
Here's why I
Purdy
say I don't think so. And the
alone?
only reason why I think he can't is because of how run heavy they are. And I think that they're going to lean on the run pretty heavily in this game. I mean, obviously they're going to pass the ball, but what would you do, right? If you have a last pick in the draft quarterback going and you have CMC, Mitchell, and Debo, you're going to want to take some pressure off that kid in this situation. So
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a run heavy script.
I agree. I 100%
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I also think that doesn't work because he doesn't have the rushing potential to really boost him into that 30-point.
Yeah, you kind of need that to be a one-off QB in a tournament like this.
Throw for
Yeah, and
177 yards,
especially
90,
just
90
because
rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. So he can elevate
that's my
himself.
man right there.
Anyone else.
Right.
Love me some Danny Dimes.
Can we get JJ in the 5 spot? Anything's possible, right?
Maybe. I'll tell you, the one thing that worries me about CMC this week is just the volatility. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell gets a ton of work. You know what I mean? I listen. What'd you say?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, we saw that last week too.
Yeah,
I mean, granted,
exactly.
they were up 20 points, but Mitchell came in and he vultured a couple touchdowns in the middle and end of that game there. So
they're gonna want
they love Elijah Mitchell.
Run. They're gonna want him all the way to the playoffs, all the way through the playoffs, obviously. So I do think they're gonna be careful with him. I mean, this guy gets hurt constantly.
Yeah, and he's a guy you need if you're going to make that that Super Bowl push. That Super Bowl.
Do you want this to be a Herbert lineup, or do we want to go best available running back? Eckler and Saquon.
I love Saquon so much this week. I think it'd be hard to pass on him here. What do you think?
Wide receivers fall off, but let's do it.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with the 2 stacked running backs there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think those RBs are likely to finish 1 and 2. CMC, I think, will probably finish around 3, just for the reasons we just said. With Mitchell being back, they like using Mitchell a lot. So
it's funny how much people, when I'm in these drafts, it's like they're playing against you instead of trying to make the best lineup possible. They don't realize that there's 45,000 other lineups being made, and those teams are creating their lineups to raise their ceiling. They're not worried about lowering other teams' ceiling. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's important to remember when you're going
different strategy from what people are using.
You're going against 30,000 people. That's the strategy you need to take. Got to throw some darts, and some of those darts need to hit the bullseye. For
sure. Like I wouldn't mind our one-off here being Zay Jones on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, could you try for the Christian Kirk stack or Christian Kirk bring back with the Austin 100%. Eckler in this?
100%. It's going to be the more owned player, which is okay because it sometimes chalk hits, right?
Yeah,
good chalk.
We can't go running back here. I don't like, so on the app, it automatically takes that off the board. And then on the website, it doesn't. So like you physically, you can't take a running back here, but it allows you to show them still.
Interesting. Finding glitches in the Underdog here.
Hack the system. I'm excited to see what they do with this Underdog best ball formula for next year. So we like Kurt.
I'm hooked already. I mean, I love this.
Oh, it's so fun.
These are great.
I like Kirk here.
Minnesota for the other side of the ball. Or do we like one of the pass catchers in Tampa Bay?
The issue is you just don't know which one it's going to be, right? Like there's always like a disparity in targets. Like we saw Mike Evans have 200 yards the other week, and then Godwin really kind of just didn't do much. Like I don't think you have a game where both of those guys are popping off, especially against Dallas, where they actually are pretty good
that way
against
with
the
Brady
pass.
this year. I
Right.
agree. Who do we want our QB to be, real quick?
Go Herbert with the Eckler stack. Maybe he gets into the end zone there on a pass. Or do you go with the Trevor Lawrence stack with Christian Kirk?
Let's go Godwin. Let's kind of let this settle out here.
I was going to say Waddle.
Tight end. We can do something like this, or we can go Trevor Lawrence and maybe a Zay Jones.
Yeah. You like Godwin more than Waddle this week? I guess that makes sense with the Tua situation.
Yeah, for sure. Teddy Bridgewater, he's not as productive, obviously, under Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater still, like his favorite target's Hill. Like he gives Hill the ball in space.
Yeah, he leans on Hill big time. And you can't blame him. I mean.
Right. Like Waddle will get around 7 to 8 targets under Bridgewater, where Tyreek Hill will have 13 to 15.
Yeah. And like 155 yards and a touchdown.
And so we can't go running back. So next is just going to be QB and tight end. So how do we want to tie this lineup in? We could have some correlation here against Tampa Bay with Tyler's favorite tight end of the week.
I do like him this week. I think he's a good pick.
I do like him this week as well. Who do we love? Who do we like?
Your one-off pick with Danny Dimes. Perfect situation.
But it's not a one-off. Danny Dimes?
Oh, kind of. Yeah, you're right, because we have Saquon. So in this situation, just kind of look at what this middle team's doing. They already have a QB. They already have a tight end. They can select a second tight end. So we'll just go our tight end first just to make sure, because they can't select 2 QBs. Just small strategy point.
Good.
Yeah, that was one thing that I looked into for a lot of these as well.
I got to be honest. I'm kind of hoping we can land on Danny Dimes here.
Okay.
Minnesota's. I mean, this is gonna be a high-scoring game. Minnesota gives it up on the ground. They give it up in the air.
And we like Schultz.
Love Schultz.
I do.
Just for we get some more correlation. I think that's always good.
I think it could be a 2-touchdown game for Schultz.
Schultzy.
The targets have been there the last 2 weeks, which is you love to see. Especially this was like a must-win game for better seeding, which they struggled in. But it's good to see that he was targeted 9 times. So a little Danny Dimes dump off to Saquon, right? 78-yard touchdown. So you have to tell yourself a story, and the story has to sort of make sense in order to.
It's true though. Like when you're making these lineups,
story.
That's true though. You gotta like try to decide the flow, how you think the flow is gonna go, and then have some lineups that hedge the bet on the different possible game flows.
Right. Yeah. I like the correlation of this one. We didn't get different. We didn't do anything crazy here. Danny Dimes isn't drafted in every draft, though. So you got to remember that. He was down here with Prescott.
People can sleep on Danny Dimes all they want, and he'll be trotting down the field on his way to a 30-point game. My man, Danny Dimes.
if Joey B, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, if they don't make it in the top, 3 QBs, even if just one of them isn't in the top 3, like that lineup, all those lineups are dead. They're dead.
Right.
Even if just the running backs steal some of the touchdowns on the goal line, like that is the difference. Now with Josh Allen,
you got to think
goal line carries, he kind of steals them. So that doesn't happen to Josh Allen too much. But like a Joe Burrow, where they will hand it off on the one to Mixon.
Don't look now, but Danny Dimes is kind of your poor man's Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Especially with Dayball, who used to coach Allen to much success in Buffalo. and he's using him in a similar way, using Danny Dimes in a similar way as how he used Allen, and certainly has worked out this year.
For sure. For sure. I had loved the correlation between Josh Allen. He's the poor man, Josh Allen. It couldn't be truer. They give him some of the same plays, like run pass options, or just run plays, like design plays for him.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be super shifty.
No.
Just don't fall this week when you're running 60 yards.
He's a big dude too. That's something that gets lost a little bit. He's not an easy tackle.
Yeah, I agree. Well, guys, always fun. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being great co-hosts. And we'll try to scoop a second one this week.
Trying to raise your tax bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, try to raise the tax bracket. Sorry, if you don't take it out, they can't take it, right? So
you can give a one-time gift.
Nice. Under 10 G's. Is that what we're talking?
Gift it to your wife, right? Let's get some accountants on the line here.
There you go. That's a little way to get out of it.
Like Tom Brady always says, the sweetest ring is the next one.
That's right.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Come on, the Tom Brady hate. That's where we're going at the end of the stream. We're going to talk about Tom Brady hate. All right, guys, appreciate you coming out. If you guys made it this far, first off, that's amazing. You've been away from your computer for a long time. Hit the bell for notifications, like the stream, and comment down below any of your favorite plays for this week's Battle Royale. Sub to the channel. Much love, Pounders.
Pounders.
There it is.